Maria adjusted the collar of her blouse, carefully covering the bruise on her neck before stepping out of the bathroom. The bright sunlight streaming through the windows mocked her reality. To the outside world, Maria had the perfect life. A charming husband, a beautiful house, and a steady job, but behind closed doors, she lived a nightmare. Her husband, Daniel, had once been the love of her life. They met during their college years, and his charisma and kindness had swept her off her feet. But over time, his affectionate demeanor had shifted. At first, it was subtle. Cutting remarks about her friends, comments about her clothing choices. Then, the verbal attacks became more frequent. And soon after, they turned physical. Maria had become a master at hiding her pain. She wore long sleeves to work, blamed clumsiness for her injuries, and smiled through the torment. She often convinced herself that Daniel didn't mean it, that he was just stressed, and that things would return to how they were in the beginning. But deep down, she knew better. One evening, as Maria prepared dinner, Daniel walked in, his face dark with anger. She braced herself. He had lost his job a few weeks ago and had been spiraling ever since. "Where's my drink?" He barked, slamming his briefcase onto the counter. Maria hurried to pour him a glass of whiskey, her hands trembling. She accidentally spilled a few drops on the counter. "Are you stupid?" He yelled, grabbing her arm so tightly that she winced. "You can't do anything right." The rage in his eyes was something Maria would never forget. That night, after the storm had passed and Daniel had fallen asleep, she sat in the dark, cradling her bruised arm. She realized she couldn't live like this anymore. The next morning, Maria called her best friend, Elena, someone she hadn't spoken to in months because Daniel didn't approve of their friendship. "I need help," Maria whispered into the phone. Elena didn't hesitate. "Come to my place. We'll figure this out together." That evening, Maria packed a small bag, careful not to alert Daniel. Her heart pounded as she stepped out of the house. Each creak of the floorboards felt like thunder, and every shadow seemed to move. She made it to the front door, her breath hitching as she heard Daniel stir in the bedroom. She froze, waiting for what felt like an eternity, before finally slipping out into the cool night air. Her hands trembled as she started her car and drove to Elena's house. When Maria arrived, Elena embraced her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You're safe now," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. Over the next few days, Maria and Elena worked together to create a plan. They contacted a local women's shelter where Maria could stay temporarily. They also sought legal advice on filing a restraining order. Maria's heart was heavy with fear and guilt, but she felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. She realized that leaving wasn't just about escaping Daniel's abuse, it was about reclaiming her life. The night she moved into the shelter, Maria sat on the edge of the bed, looking out the window at the city lights. She felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. She had scars, both seen and unseen, but she also had strength she never knew she possessed. As days turned into weeks, Maria began to heal. She found support in the other women at the shelter, each with their own stories of survival. Slowly, she started to rebuild her life piece by piece. Maria's journey wasn't easy, but it was hers. And with every step she took away from the darkness, she moved closer to the light, proving that even in the face of pain, resilience could triumph.